The coffee maker finished before I did. I was still standing at the kitchen window, watching the neighbors' sprinklers sweep back and forth across the lawn in the early gray light, and the machine behind beeped twice and went quiet. My wife was upstairs. I could hear the faint sound of the shower running, the old pipes ticking in the walls the way they always do when the hot water reaches the second floor. 31 years in this house. I know every sound it makes. I poured my cup and sat at the table and opened nothing. I just sat. That is something I have started doing in the last few years, sitting without a screen, without a newspaper, without a reason. My daughter calls it meditation. I call it being 63. My phone was face down on the table. When it lit up and buzzed, I turned it over without hurrying. It was my younger sister. She never calls before 7. I answered. She didn't say hello. She said, "Is Margaret home right now?" I looked up at the ceiling toward the sound of the shower. "Yes," I said. "She's getting ready upstairs. Why?" There was a pause. Not a long one, but the kind that is weight in it. "I'm looking at her," my sister said. "She's walking through the lobby of the Alderton right now, with a man, and she has luggage." I didn't say anything. "I'm at the front desk," she said. I'm looking right at her. My sister has worked the overnight concierge shift at the Alderton Hotel for 11 years. It is a 40-minute drive from our house. The Alderton is the kind of place where the lobby smells like cedar, and the elevator doors are brushed brass, and the rooms start at $400 a night. "That's not possible," I said. "I know what Margaret looks like," my sister said quietly. "I've known her for 30 years. Upstairs, the shower was still running. I told my sister I would call her back. I set the phone down on the table. I picked up my coffee. I drank it. Then I walked to the bottom of the stairs and listened. The water stopped. I heard the soft thud of the bathroom door, the slide of a drawer. Normal sounds. Every morning sounds. I went back to the kitchen. I thought about what my sister had said, and I thought about what I knew, and I tried to find the place where those two things could both be true. I am an engineer by training. I spent 35 years in structural assessment. When something doesn't add up, I don't panic. I look for the load path. I find where the stress is going. So I sat and I thought. Margaret had told me she was going to her book club that evening. She had mentioned it 3 days ago, written it on the whiteboard we keep by the garage door. Thursday, book club, home by 10. She had done this every third Thursday for the past 4 years. I had never thought to question it, but it was Thursday morning, not Thursday evening. I called my sister back. "Are they checking in or checking out?" I asked. "They already checked in," she said. "About 40 minutes ago. I was on my break when they came through. One of the other staff told me. I came back out and I saw her in the elevator bay. She didn't look my way." "Did she see you?" "I don't think so." I stepped behind the pillar near the concierge desk. I asked her what the man looked like. She described someone I didn't recognize. Tall, younger than Margaret, dark coat, a kind of easy confidence in how he moved, the way she put it, like he had been there before. I thanked her and I told her to please not say anything. She said she wouldn't. Before she hung up, she said my name the way people say it when they want to say something else and decide not to. I sat in the kitchen for a long time after that. Margaret came downstairs at 7:40. She was dressed the way she always dresses for her volunteer shift at the library. Dark slacks, a light blue cardigan, hair-pinned back. She poured herself coffee and asked me if I had eaten, and I said not yet, and she said there was yogurt in the back of the fridge behind the orange juice. I watched her. I have been watching Margaret for 31 years. I know how she holds her cup with both hands when it is hot. I know that she reads the back of the cereal box even when she has read it 100 times. I know the specific way she tilts her head when she is thinking about what to say next. She did all of those things that morning, and I sat across from her, and I said normal things in a normal voice, and I looked for what my sister had seen, and I did not find it, which was either proof that my sister was wrong, or proof that this woman was very, very good. I want to be precise about what I knew at that point and what I did not know, because I think it matters. I knew my sister had seen someone who looked like Margaret walking into a hotel at roughly 7 in the morning. I did not know who that person was. I did not know if my sister, tired at the end of an overnight shift, had made a mistake. I did not know if there was an explanation I was too proud or too frightened to think of. What I did know was this: I was not certain. And an engineer who is not certain does not cut the beam. So I began to pay attention in a way I had not paid attention in years. Not suspicious attention, structural attention. The kind where you look at every joint, every connection, every place where one thing transfers load to another. I started with the calendar. Over the next 2 weeks, I wrote down everything. What time Margaret left, what time she came back, where she said she was going, the mileage on her car when she left and when she returned. I am not a man who tracks his wife. I want to be clear about that. But I am also a man who, once he has cause to question the integrity of a structure, cannot in good conscience walk away without looking. The numbers did not match. Book club, 3rd Thursday. She left at 6:45 and returned at 10:15. The library where book club meets is 8 miles from our house. The Alderton is 22 miles in the opposite direction. The mileage on her car when she returned suggested she had driven somewhere between 50 and 60 miles. I checked again. Same result, a dentist appointment, she mentioned. Checkup, routine, nothing to worry about. I called the office to ask about rescheduling, a pretense, and was told her last visit was 14 months ago and she had not scheduled anything recent. I found a receipt in the pocket of a jacket she had left on the hall chair. It was from a restaurant I did not recognize, in a neighborhood on the other side of the city. The date was a Tuesday. She had told me she was working late on a volunteer project for the Historical Society. I held that receipt for a long time. I am 63 years old. My knees ache in the mornings. I need reading glasses for anything smaller than a headline. I have buried my parents and 2 close friends and 1 colleague who went too young. I watched enough of life pass to know that very little is worth the energy of rage, but I held that receipt, and I felt something move through me that I had not felt in a long time. And it was not rage exactly. It was more like the specific sadness of recognizing a crack in a wall you thought was solid. I did not confront her. Not yet. I needed to understand the full structure before I decided what to do with it. That is not weakness. That is method. I drove to the Alderton on a Saturday afternoon on the pretense of nothing, telling no one. I walked through the lobby. I sat in one of the chairs near the fireplace with a newspaper, and I watched the room for an hour. I did not see her. I did not expect to. I was not looking for her specifically. I was looking at the place, understanding the environment, noting the exits, the elevator bank, the restaurant entrance off the side corridor, the way the front desk faced away from the lounge area. My sister met me for lunch in the hotel restaurant. She looked tired. She had been carrying this alongside me for 2 weeks, and it showed. She told me more than she had told me on the phone that morning. She said she had seen Margaret at the Alderton twice before, in the past 8 months. She had not said anything either time because she had told herself she must be mistaken, or there was a reason, or it was not her business. She said she was sorry she hadn't told me sooner. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. She showed me something on her phone. A photograph, blurred slightly, taken from an angle behind the concierge desk. A woman in a gray coat standing near the elevator, the back of a man beside her, his hand at the small of her back. The woman in the gray coat was my wife. I know that coat. I was with her when she bought it. 4 years ago, a Saturday in October, a small shop on the north side of the city. She had tried on 3 others first. She chose the gray one because she said it was practical. I gave the phone back to my sister. I folded my napkin. I finished my water. I asked my sister to please keep me informed if she saw Margaret in the hotel again. She said she would. I drove home. Margaret's car was in the driveway. I could smell something cooking when I opened the door. Something with rosemary. Something from the good pot she uses when she is in a particular mood. She called from the kitchen that dinner would be ready in 40 minutes. I said that sounded fine. I sat in my chair in the study and I thought about 31 years. We met when I was 32. She was 29. We married the following spring in the backyard of her parents' house in Connecticut, under a tent that the wind kept trying to pull from its stakes. We laughed about it during the vows. We have laughed about it every year since, at least until recently. At least until I started noticing that we tell the same stories the same way every time and never add anything new. I don't know exactly when we stopped being curious about each other. I have thought about this in the weeks since, and I cannot find a date. It was gradual. The way erosion is gradual. You do not see it happening. You see the result. That does not excuse anything. I want to be clear about that too. But I am trying to be honest, not just about her, but about the structure of what we built together, and where the weight was distributed, and what I may have left unattended. 2 weeks after the lunch with my sister, on a Thursday, Margaret left for book club at 6:45. I waited 20 minutes, then I drove to the Alderton. I did not have a plan. That is unusual for me. I am a man with plans. But that night I simply drove, and when I arrived I parked in the side lot and walked into the lobby and sat in the same chair near the fireplace and opened the same newspaper. She came through the revolving door at 8:12. She was wearing the gray coat. Her hair was down, which she almost never wears at home anymore. She was smiling at something the man beside her had just said. He was the way my sister had described him. Tall, younger, unhurried. I did not stand up. I did not call her name. I sat behind my newspaper and I watched her cross the lobby and step into the elevator, and the doors closed, and she was gone. I sat for a while longer. Then I folded the newspaper, set it on the side table, and walked out to my car. I sat in the parking lot for a long time. The engine was off. The windows fogged slightly in the October cold. I watched other cars come and go. What I felt was not what I expected. I had expected anger or devastation or some dramatic interior event. Instead, what I felt was a deep, quiet tiredness, the kind that does not come from one bad night, but from many years of small inattentions compounding like interest. I drove home. I went to bed. When she came in at 10:30 and moved quietly through the dark room, I listened to the sounds she made: the closet door, the sink in the bathroom, the careful way she sat on her side of the bed so as not to wake me. And I thought about how long she had been doing this. How many Thursdays, how many careful returns. I did not sleep. In the morning, I called my attorney. Not because I had decided anything, but because I believe in getting your measurements right before you start cutting. My attorney is a woman I have known for 20 years. She asked me a few questions, took some notes, and told me to bring documentation when I was ready. She did not seem surprised. I do not know if that is reassuring or not. Over the following 3 weeks, I gathered what I had: the mileage records I had kept, the receipt, the photograph my sister had sent me with her permission, notes on dates and discrepancies. I did not look at her email. I did not put software on her phone. I did not hire anyone. I am not interested in building a case against her. I am interested in understanding the truth of my own life. When I had what I needed, I chose a Sunday morning. She was in the kitchen, both hands around her cup, reading the back of the cereal box. I sat down across from her, and I put the folder on the table between us. She looked at it. Then she looked at me. I did not raise my voice. I did not list her failures or describe my pain in elaborate terms. I told her what I knew. I told her how I knew it. I told her that I was not interested in a denial or an argument or a negotiation. I told her I wanted to hear whatever she wanted to tell me, and that I would listen to all of it. She was quiet for a long time. Then she told me. It had been going on for almost 2 years. She had met him through a mutual acquaintance at a gallery opening she had attended alone. On an evening I had declined to go because I was tired. She said she had not intended for it to become what it became. She said she did not know how to stop something once it had momentum. She said she thought about telling me many times. I listened to all of it. When she finished, I was quiet for a moment, and then I asked her one question. I asked her whether in 2 years of Thursdays she had ever sat in a parking lot afterward and felt the specific weight of what she was carrying home. She said yes. She said every time. I nodded. I picked up the folder. I stood up from the table. I told her I thought she should stay with her sister for a while. I told her I would be in touch through the attorney. I told her I was not going to make this ugly if she wasn't going to make this ugly. She asked if there was anything she could say. I thought about it, genuinely. I stood in the kitchen we have shared for 31 years, under the light fixture we picked out together from a catalog the summer we renovated, and I thought about whether there was a version of this conversation that led somewhere different. I told her I didn't think so. She left that afternoon. I am telling this story from the other side of it, which is to say several months later, in the early morning, in this same kitchen. The neighbor's sprinklers still run on a timer. The coffee maker still beeps twice. The pipes still tick when the hot water moves through the walls, even though now it is only my hot water, only my shower, only my weight on the floor above. I have thought about what to say if someone asks me how I am. The honest answer is that I am something I do not have a precise word for. Not devastated. Not relieved, though some days it is close to that. Something more like recalibrated. As if my sense of balance has had to find a new center. I do not hate her. That surprises me sometimes. But when I look at it directly, I find it is true. I was not a perfect husband. I was distracted and tired and often more interested in the engineering problem on my desk than the person across the dinner table. I do not say that to excuse what she did. I say it because I think honesty about a broken thing is more useful than a clean story about who was wrong. What I keep coming back to is a smaller thing. The gray coat. The way she looked in the lobby that night. Hair down, laughing at something, moving through a space as if she owned it. I had not seen her look that way in a very long time. Maybe I had not made space for her to look that way. That is the thing I sit with in the mornings now, when there is nothing in my hands and nothing on the table. And the light comes across the countertops and I am just here, quiet, paying the kind of attention I perhaps should have been paying all along. You think you know the structure of something because you have lived inside it for decades. You think familiarity is the same as understanding. It is not. Familiarity is just the habit of not looking. I am 63 years old and I am learning, in a kitchen that still smells faintly of last night's coffee, what it means to pay attention. I am still learning.